like Michael Murphy, John Basilone, Chaplain Vincent Capodanno, Jimmy Doolittle, Audie Murphy, Dakota Meyer, Daniel Daly, Chaplain Joseph O'Callahan, Douglas MacArthur, James Stockdale, George Bud Day, Medal of Honor winners. Today, I'm here to talk with my friend LaMarr about why another name deserves to be on the list of heroes, those who have served their country with distinction and honor and valor and are worthy of this award, the Medal of Honor, the highest award that can be given here in the United States. And so we're going to talk about Sergeant First Class Alwyn Crendall Cashe. And LaMarr here served with Alwyn. And just to give you a little narrative, a little citation of why today's such a big deal and why we're taking the time to talk about Sergeant First Class Cashe. Here's the citation that went with the Silver Star that he was awarded for his actions during the global war on terror as he served in the 1st Battalion, 3rd Infantry Division of the United States of America. So the President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, July 9, 1918, takes pride in presenting the Silver Star posthumously to Sergeant First Class Alwyn Crendall Cashe, United States Army, for exceptionally valorous achievement following an improvised explosive device explosion on 17 October 2005 while serving with Company A, 1st Battalion, 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division during combat operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Sergeant First Class Cashe's disregard for his own safety proved evident when he saved the lives of 6 fellow soldiers despite his serious injuries. His bravery is in keeping with the finest traditions of military heroism and reflect distinct credit upon himself, Task Force Dragon, the Sledgehammer Brigade, Task Force Liberty, and the United States Army. That was the citation that was read as Sergeant First Class Cashe's family received the Silver Star after his death. He succumbed to the injuries he received during this improvised explosive device explosion. So LaMarr here is a member of my congregation, and he actually introduced me to this story some years ago. Yes. And I've been here now for 10 years, and I remember when you came back from the Army, and we sat down and had a long conversation about your friend, about Alwyn, and how you and your family were going down to Florida. We're in Florida, but down to the Sanford, Florida area to be there as they were naming the barracks.
The Reserve Center.
The Reserve Center. They were naming the Reserve Center after Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe. And so wanted to bring LaMarr in to talk today. Sergeant First Class Cashe has been in the news a little bit if you watch. Congress has made some actions in the recent year or two to be able to upgrade his Silver Star to the Medal of Honor. And it takes an act of Congress to do such a thing and a presidential approval. And it looks like things are moving in the direction to award him the Medal of Honor. And I want to talk with you today about what that means, get a little bit of background, a little history.
Okay. Well, me and Al, we met each other in 1993. We were stationed in Korea together. Initially, Al was not an infantry guy.
Okay.
He changed his MOS to become an infantry guy so that he can get promoted. His MOS was a soft skill MOS. So when he came over to the infantry, we gave it to him hard. Because you don't leave a easy job to come to a hard job.
Right. Usually you do it the other way around.
Yeah.
You do a hard job to go to the
first
easier
and
one.
Then take it easier later in your career. But he swapped it. And him coming over there was really difficult and hard for him, doing the things that we normally do, and he wasn't used to that. Mm-hmm. But eventually he learned it, and as we could see, became a great infantry soldier.
Yes.
Like I said, we met in 93. We left there, went to Fort Hood after that. But over there in Korea, we were pretty tight because over there in Korea, your unit, your family is your family. Family members weren't allowed to go with us.
Right.
So we stayed in the barracks and we talked and joked and worked and everything with each other. So we became really tight over there. Like I said, after that, we went to Fort Hood and families were involved. So we kind of faded away and had to take care of our business with our family, but we still kept in touch with each other periodically. Being in the infantry world, whenever you get promoted, we always would have to go back to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay.
Because that's where our training for our next rank, that's where you would have to go for training.
Okay.
And then 2003, I got promoted, and Al was actually stationed at Fort Benning at that time.
Okay.
So when I was at Fort Benning in 2003 going through training, and he was there, and we hung out a little bit, you know, just reminiscing on old times and just trying to get back to recognizing and realizing who we are again. And that was the summer of 2003, and not knowing that that was going to be the last time I saw Al, you know. Kind of felt something after I found out what happened to him, and I just didn't realize that that was going to be the last time I spoke to him or see him. So, but like I said, we kept in touch periodically throughout our military career. So,
You guys served in different sandboxes at times too, right? With let's see, he was in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I know you spent some time out in the desert too. Were you in Iraq? Spent more time there than
yes.
Any time in Afghanistan or just Iraq?
Just Iraq. Okay. Majority of my time was over in Iraq. And actually, I was in Desert Storm also. That's where I first went to war, off in Desert Storm. Then Iraq, a couple deployments over there in Iraq. So, not there during the same time period because I was actually in different units. I was in Colorado at the time, and he was in Georgia at the time. So. So we never crossed each other's paths while we were over there in the desert. So.
Okay. It often seems to work that way. You make good friendships stateside, but don't always end up fighting side by side. You know, you kind of sometimes I imagine it feels like slapping hands and tagging out. All right, I'm coming home. You're going in.
Pretty much.
And you know what they're going into, and they've got a little bit of an inkling, but kind of gives you something to pray for. Like, I know what you're going to. We'll pray for you.
Yeah. Call that we would, the Army lingo is right seat ride, you know.
Right seat ride.
You're in the battlefield doing what you got to do, and then next thing you know, your time is getting ready to come short. So the unit coming to relieve you, they would right seat ride you.
Okay.
You're going through things, and you're brushing them up on things that's happening. So within a 30-day period, you know, this is what you got on your hands. So, and you just followed me. So hopefully you can handle it. So right seat ride.
Right seat ride. Well, and so like 2003, 2005. So when the explosion went off for him in 2005, I mean that was in the heat of the fighting in Iraq.
It was because initially 2003 it was just go forward. Setting the precedents pretty much to all the way to 2006, 2007. We had to dictate who was in charge, you know, and setting the precedents on this is what we're trying to accomplish. So it was pretty hard during those times frame, and that's when we were getting a lot of attacks and things on American soldiers.
Okay.
Because, you know, they didn't want to surrender and do things that would be better for their country.
Right.
So during that time frame, it was pretty hard and a lot of battling going on.
During that time frame, when we talked earlier, the missions weren't just American soldiers going out. They were also training up the Iraqis that would be kind of, hopefully at one point, you know, the goal was not to be there forever. The goal was, hey, we're going to get you guys trained up. We're going to kick out the evil that's here and then let you guys kind of run yourself. So like these movements weren't always just U.S. soldiers, right?
No. MET team.
MET team.
MITT, military transition teams.
Okay.
All right, and that's when we would have American soldiers train up the Iraqi army or Iraqi police.
Okay.
training them on techniques on how to search areas, how to dictate ambushes and things like that, how to kick in doors if they needed to. So we would actually train those guys up, and then we would start it into the phase of putting an Iraqi face on it.
Okay.
As in showing that having the country realize that their soldiers, their police, are the ones that's up front now.
Right.
So that they can say, okay, the Americans aren't taking over, our people are taking over.
Right.
So we trained those guys up and we'll put an Iraqi face on it and let them go up front. But we were right there behind them,
Giving them the support.
giving them support.
Because they need that courage to be able to do their job with knowing that, you're not going to be there to hold their hands forever. It's kind of like when you're training up a child to walk or to do something. It's good for them to be, they like looking back. Like when you're teaching a kid to ride a bike, they look back and you're like, don't look back at me, just keep looking forward. You look back, you're going to crash. But same thing with training up then the people that would be, doing the job after you
And
guys left.
it gave them a lot of pride to realize, okay, that the American soldiers aren't going to be here forever.
Right.
That we know we have to be up front to rule our own country, because they actually they didn't want us there forever.
Right.
They don't want us there. They just want us there to get things right and ready, and they're gonna take it from there. So
Yeah. So, guessing, after talking with you there, and then I'll actually read the narrative in a little bit for the narrative to accompany the Silver Star. But my guess is then there was a lot of a learning curve, I guess, when you go out and you're, the U.S. military is a well-trained force, and you're having to train up people that maybe don't have that same kind of training, and so you're putting. It's one thing to put your life in the hands of someone that is wearing the same uniform as you, has the same training and background, but then to put your life in the hands of someone who their level of training is different.
Yes.
I don't want to speak, bad, but I know that there's a different different quality of.
Yes, and actually we were actually embedded with them.
Okay.
We slept with them, and on their fobs outside the gate.
Okay.
Ate with them and all this stuff. So we were there with them almost 24/7.
Yeah.
Our main support was back on a fob somewhere, so that we would go back and get our supplies and things like that, or they would come and bring it to us. But being embedded with them at all times, trying to keep that mindset on them that they have to be aware and think of training first, mission first. We would train these guys up and going through training, and they was like, okay, yeah, we got it. They got it. Okay, now let's go execute this. And it just go out the window. At times, it just go out the window, and we just shake our heads, But they still accomplished it. It's just that they would somewhat go back to their original training of what they know.
Right.
But then we would be in their ear. So then they would straighten each other. They would straighten each other out at the time. So.
Yeah. I want to give a definition. I know not everybody that watches and listens to this is going to know some of these terms, but a FOB is a forward operating base, and it's when there's the front line and you're in the thick of it. Then, so it's not. That's the place where you go to bed at night to the sound of gunfire and mortars being launched, maybe at you or towards you at least. And
FOB is a little bit safer area where you're inside a military installation, American ground, pretty much. Safe, but not out of danger.
Right.
But you can kind of relax a little bit on the FOB. So
it's a little bit safer than when you're outside the fence line.
Yeah, instead of being out there on.
Except everybody knows where you're at when you're in the FOB, and so that's when you see. I remember watching the news, and that's when you'd see like the vehicle type, vehicle improvised explosive devices, the VBIDs, driving into the gates of things. Those were usually FOBs, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So still got to keep your head on a swivel.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah. So as you're out there serving side by side with your fellow soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors, because it's a joint strike type force, you really develop bonds with those people.
You really do. And it just like reminds me of like when we were in Korea, the people that surround you, that's your family at the time, you know. You dictate, you depend on them just like they depend on you. So you always you don't want to let them down. They're not going to let you down. Nobody's perfect and things happen, but we still depend on each other even more out there because of the danger that's going on, the danger that can happen. So it's a real tight group.
Tight group
once you get deployed.
Which makes sense. As I was reading some of the details in my research on Alwyn, that was his concern as he was being evacuated finally by chopper. Which, as I'm reading it, they had to essentially like drag him. He didn't want to leave, but he kept asking, "How are my boys?" He was more worried about the people that he served side by side with than his own safety, and that's a testament to not only him but the bond of brotherhood that gets formed when you're in those situations.
And him as the platoon sergeant at that time, estimate about 40 soldiers under his command.
Okay.
So he was in charge and making sure that those guys got home safely, got the food they needed, got the ammo that they needed, any kind of supplies that they needed. So those were pretty much his children, his guys.
Yeah.
So in that position, everybody is looking up to him. And it's quite obvious that, he was going to make sure that he took care of his guys, make sure that they taken care of for the actions that he committed, the things that he was committed to. So
right. Leaders eat last, right?
Always.
Yeah, always eat last. And I see that, when I do my work with the Marines and they bring in a meal, the leaders always eat last. And usually it's a fight between the master guns or the first sergeant, and then the officers of, okay, so you go ahead and eat. No, you go ahead and eat. There's sort of this sort of honor of actually making sure that everybody that is under your care is taken care of.
Yes.
And here is a Sergeant First Class, with those kind of people underneath his care, he took responsibility for them, and like a mother hen caring for chicks.
Oh yeah.
Or
just keeping his wings around them.
That's right. Well, I want to read the narrative to accompany the award so that the folks that listen and watch this kind of get an idea of what he went through, and then we can talk about words because there's some words that stand out here: valor, heroism, bravery, devotion to duty, servant leadership. Those are some words that kind of pop out when reading about Sergeant First Class Cashe. And I want to get your feeling on that, and want to talk about some of the honor that goes with a Silver Star, but then even more so the what a distinction the Medal of Honor is. And so let me read the narrative to accompany the award for the Silver Star, and give you guys an idea of what valor and heroism looks like. Sergeant First Class Alwyn Crendall Cashe heroically distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous conduct in the face of the enemy of the United States as a platoon sergeant in 1st Platoon Alpha Company, Hardock, 1st Battalion, 15th Infantry Regiment, stationed at Forward Operating Base Mackenzie, Iraq, on 17 October 2005. On the evening of 17 October 2005, Sergeant First Class Cashe's heroic action saved the lives of 6 of his fellow soldiers. At approximately 19:20 hours, so 7:20, 1st Platoon of Alpha Company, 115th Infantry, departed FOB Mackenzie to conduct a route clearance in the city of Dalia, Iraq. Along route Jamie, the lead Bradley fighting vehicle, of which Sergeant First Class Cashe was gunner, having just moved from an NMC vehicle, struck a victim-detonated pressure switch IED at grid MC 25357243. So just there's some lingo in there. A victim-detonated pressure switch IED means that there was someone that actually detonated the IED, so Improvised Explosive Device. So someone was watching, someone pushed a button, and they were targeted. is what that means then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the blast ignited the fuel cell on the vehicle, causing fuel to spew everywhere. The vehicle came to a stop and immediately erupted in flames. Sergeant First Class Cashe was initially slightly injured and drenched with fuel. Despite his condition, he bravely managed to get out of the gunner's hatch, crawl down the BFV, and assist the driver out of the driver's hatch. The driver had been burned, and Sergeant First Class Cashe extinguished his flames. The following minutes were crucial. 6 soldiers and a translator were in the back of the Bradley. Flames had engulfed the entire vehicle from the bottom and were coming out of every portal. The squad leader inside the vehicle managed to open the troop hatch door to help the soldiers escape. Without regard for his personal safety, Sergeant First Class Cashe rushed to the back of the vehicle, reaching into the hot flames and started pulling out his soldiers. The flames gripped his fuel-soaked uniform. Flames quickly spread all over his body. Despite the terrible pain, Sergeant First Class Cashe placed the injured soldier on the ground and returned to the burning vehicle to retrieve another burning soldier. All the while, he was still on fire. A crew from a trail Bradley arrived within moments and assisted with CASVAC. During all this, and with severe burns, Sergeant First Class Cashe bravely continued to take control of the chaos. Within minutes, the company first sergeant was on the scene and began to evacuate the seriously injured soldiers, one of which was Sergeant First Class Cashe. In the end, the national translator was killed in action and 10 soldiers were injured. 7 of the 10 were very seriously injured. Sergeant First Class Cashe stayed a hero through it all. His injuries were the worst as he suffered from 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 72% of his body. Sergeant First Class Cashe's heroic actions saved the lives of 6 of his beloved soldiers, and he is truly deserving of this award. His actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of military heroism and reflect distinct credit upon himself, Task Force Liberty, and the United States Army. Now, he went in 3 times to evacuate people while burning on fire, and
a lot of people don't realize, like when you were reading at the NMC, non-mission capable vehicle, his vehicle actually broke down right before they were going out the gate.
oh, that's what that means. So he had come from a vehicle, he could have stayed
His
back
vehicle
home.
was broke, and he told the guy, hey, you take my vehicle back and get it fixed. I'm going to jump in your vehicle.
Wow. So he hopped in the gunner's turret, and he didn't necessarily have to. And he actually, in the explosion, as you read this, he was able to escape, and yet knowing that he was drenched in fuel, because you know that smell, he went in and rescued his guys.
The fuel tank on the Bradley fighting vehicle is directly up under the turret of the vehicle.
Okay.
So when the IED exploded, improvised explosion device exploded, it hit the bottom of the fuel tank, and that's directly up under the turret. So when it blew up, the fuel splashed up on him. Like you said, he had time to get out and assisted the driver getting out, because the driver, they said he was pretty dazed and confused.
Sure.
Got the squad leader that was in the back. He eventually got that troop hatch door open. Al assisted in getting him out on the side, and Al asked him, hey, where are the other guys? And the dismount squad leader, he was still a little confused, and he said, I think they're still inside. And that's when Al just went into bravery mode, going back and forth 3 times. And like I said before, knowing Al, I just wouldn't imagine something like that happening to him, doing those kind of actions. And I guess that's when the bravery takes over.
Yeah.
Bravery is something that you do despite the fear that can happen, something that can happen to you. I don't care. The bravery is going to kick in. My well-being is put aside, because I have to make sure that those guys get taken care of, you know. So it was just surprising that, and I know all of this kicked in automatically. You know, initially right there at the beginning of this operation, his vehicle broke down. He didn't have to go out there.
Right.
But he, like, no, I'm going out there with my guys.
Yeah.
So
that's what a leader does, right? I mean, and
so
and he doesn't want to be a rear echelon guy.
no, no.
We won't use the actual term for that. But yeah, he. I mean, when reading some of the interview and the testimony from other people, how are my boys? I couldn't get to them fast enough. I mean, those were his concerns, and I'm guessing he was working as fast as he could and as hard as he could, and to do what he did.
Like I said, the first sergeant got to the scene doing CAS evac, as in trying to prioritize individuals as in their injuries, and 72% of his body burned, and Al was still pushing off treatment to his guys first, making sure that they were taken care of first. And if that's not what a leader does, if that's not a hero right there,
Right.
I know his adrenaline was kicking in. And then after a while, after I'm pretty sure once his guys was taken care of, he kind of calmed down then, and then he realized how bad off he was.
Right.
But he made sure his guys was first, though.
He did, and in reading, because I pulled up quite a bit to read, and one of the things that was commented even in the hospital, he wanted to make sure like his injuries were not as important as making sure that the guys, his boys, were being taken care of first. Even when he was, after they got him to the helicopter, got him to the hospital, even still, it was, take care of my men, take care of my boys, and that is I think that's where that term servant leadership and devotion to duty, but not only the duty. I mean, I think what you see in an example like Al, as he had a duty to do, but his duty was his men, right? I mean, when you go over there to fight, you're fighting for the people next to you. You've got a job to do, but ultimately the success of your job is the person on your left and right.
As a platoon sergeant, the success of your job is to make sure everybody's taken care of. I go over there with 42 people. I'm bringing 42 people back.
Right.
That's what you want to do. You have a mission, but my secondary mission is to make sure all these guys come back safe.
Right.
With all their parts, and see if their mind is still in the right frame. So, leadership is crucial in those situations, just to make sure the guys are taken care of.
Yeah. I think it's important to have good examples of good leadership like this, because there's toxic leaders out there, and toxic being the leaders that they're out there for themselves. They're the everybody's seen the pictures where there's boss and he's sitting on a thing and everybody's dragging him. Then there's leaders where they're actually concerned for the people around them, and a leader is going to be the type of person that they're not going to take credit for the successes. They'll take credit for the failures, but the successes are my people did that. My guys did this, and when the things hit the fan, the leader is the one that says, "Hey, I got to take care of my people." The toxic one is going to say, "Hey,
reflect that and push it off on someone else."
Yeah.
Like you said, something bad happens, it's on me. Bam, right there. I know Al was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
That would sit there. From what he had learned during the infantry world, is that okay? You land on that grenade. You take that sword. All right. Don't let your guys get looked at in the wrong eye because of something that happened. It's easy for a platoon sergeant to take that hit.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that his guys, and he was led by example. I'm pretty sure a lot of his guys, that once they realized what happened to him, his platoon would, in their mindset, I would have done the same thing.
Right.
That's what Al showed us how to do, and he was a great leader up front. So,
and so that sort of bravery, heroism, valor, it rubs off on the people around you then too, and it sort of instills something to strive for.
When I joined the Army, my basic training drill sergeant, he had a CIB on, a combat infantry badge.
Okay.
He was from Vietnam. He was
wow.
When I went to basic training. Yeah, he was so it was later in his career,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what a CIB was.
Right.
Okay. And folks was like, this is what you want to get if you're an infantry guy. You want to get a combat infantry badge that you go out there and you prove yourself in battle.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at that drill sergeant at the time, Drill Sergeant Campbell, he walked differently.
Sure.
With that badge on his chest. People treated him different. They looked up to him.
Mm-hmm.
So not just because of that badge that was on his chest, he proved himself to his peers and to his subordinates that this is what you need to do. And once you stood up and walked differently, people noticed that, and they started looking and acting different towards.
Right.
I want to strive towards that now. I want that recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And Drill Sergeant Campbell, he never said anything about it. He never talked about it, but we could just realize what he actually went through to get that, so.
Right. It becomes not a, hey, look at me, I did this, but people notice without you drawing attention to it. and they actually, the humility that's connected to that is I think what draws us to people like that, right? Because nobody likes to be around the blowhard who's look at me, but the person that has done some things and is humble about it, that's the person you want to be around.
The list of individuals that you named off initially that received the Medal of Honor, the ones that were living, their speech after the medal was wrapped around their neck is that this wasn't for me. I didn't do this for me. This
Right.
happened because I had to do my job to make sure everybody else was taken care of.
Yeah.
This is not my award. This is my platoon award. These are the guys that I fought with. They assisted and helped me get in this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a Medal of Honor.
No. No, because in order to get it, you
have gone through some things.
You have. I actually came across a quote, and I liked it. You don't earn the Medal of Honor by stacking bodies. You earn it by demonstrating a willingness to die so that others might live. And, you get different kinds of ribbons when you stack bodies, don't you? But when you when you're willing to lay down your life for somebody else, that's where the Medal of Honor comes in.
Alwyn has a sister, and she is a big pusher on trying to get him the Medal of Honor.
Okay.
She was over there in Texas when they brought him back to the States.
Oh.
So she had saw him before he passed away, and goes back to when he was getting treatment. Unfortunately, a couple of his guys that were there, they were falling off to the wayside, and 4 guys that came back, all 4 passed away.
Mm.
And Al was the last of the 4.
Okay.
And talking to his sister, and his sister told him the other 3 guys, they passed away already, because he was still asking about how they were doing.
Right.
And then she told me that's when she realized that, okay, Al said he seemed like he made peace.
Mm.
That he tried to do and hang on as far as he could.
Yeah.
He had peace with himself.
That's good.
And he told his sister that, I think it's time.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired. And this is what his sister was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So he made peace, and
He got his men home.
got his man home. He did.
Yeah. And he ate last, right? I mean, he made sure they were all where they needed to be before he let go, I guess.
Yes.
Here, I got my little handy box here. I knew we were going to need this today. I actually thought I was going to lose it during the actual reading of the citation there. That sort of heroism is it's something.
It is, Pastor. It is. It is.
It is, and to know his dedication all the way to the end like that, even still caring more for everybody else.
Yeah.
He would, if there had been one hanging on longer, he would have hung on longer. I'm sure of it. Knowing what you've shared about him,
and knowing Al, like I said, we sat down and had good times together, and I just feel that 99.9% of leaders, if they're in that situation, they would do it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it myself. I'm like, man, I can't imagine me doing something like that. But if I'm in that situation, I'm going to react.
Right.
And that's the same thing Al did. He put himself behind and tried to make sure that his guys was taken care of before him. You know.
I'm glad when he did finally breathe his last, he was at peace, because there are folks that they feel that regret. I wish I had done more. I could have done more. And to be able to say, hey, I did everything I could do, and I can be at peace. I mean, that's good. That's a blessing. He didn't go conflicted, kicking himself in the pants that, why didn't I do this, or if only I had done that, and to be able to, people talk about living without regrets. I think it's better to be able to die without regrets,
And in that situation, he still, put himself last.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not a training thing. I mean, that's not you can't train someone to do that. That's character. That's
leaders are born. You can try to make somebody a leader.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and read, and you can educate yourself on how to do this and how to do that. But a real leader is born. It's instilled in them.
Yeah.
And that leadership trait right there, as in putting people first. And it doesn't even have to be in a battlefield or in a uniform.
No.
Be it the manager at a Walmart.
Right.
Leaders are actually born, and you become a better leader once you're put in situations that make you react. So
that kind of test you and force you to evolve or adapt or
fall to the wayside.
Or fall to the wayside. I mean, that happens too.
And Al didn't.
He didn't. And that servant heart to put people ahead of yourself, that gets passed along too, doesn't it? That sort of, he had the desire to serve his country, to serve his men, and to care for them. And that heart of service is picked up by other people. It trains up the next generation, right?
Yes. And it's not a contradiction, but going into war, having to fight in battle and take people's lives. And but we're taught, thou shalt not murder, and thou shalt not hurt other individuals. Treat your neighbors as yourself.
Right.
So having that mindset, having that in your mind, but knowing that you will be forgiven, and God has given you the knowledge and power to actually help defend yourself. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but if you don't defend yourself or you're actually out there doing things right, God is looking at you in the righteous eyes. So Al was one of those guys that, I'm pretty sure that when the pan hit the fire, he was one of those guys that I'm sure his religious beliefs were in the back of his head and in mind, because what I have to do came first. But on your mind at all times. I'm sure it was.
Yeah. And that is, that's often a struggle. Folks are taught, thou shalt not kill. And then you go into a profession where you may be asked to put a round into an enemy. And,
that's an infantry soldier's job.
That is. And what is it I think it's is it the mission of the Marines to close in and destroy the enemy with fire support.
Look him in his eye. You see his, the pupils of his eye.
Right. And so how do you deal with that? And that's where I think we as Lutherans have a great opportunity to actually speak into that environment, because there's obviously a difference between killing and murdering. And when I teach confirmation class to the kids, I always try to make that distinction. Murdering someone is I don't like the way you look, so I'm going to kill you, or whatever. You cut me off on the road, so I'm going to drive you off the road. But and that's what God forbids. But at times, God has established government, and government wages wars to either protect people or for the causes of freedom. And all that just war theory stuff that they have us learn. The military, is this a just war? What are just actions? I'm sure they threw some of those, what are those Latin phrases, but it's the idea of, being just in the way that you wage war, so you're not burning down houses and killing women and children, that sort of thing. But, because God gives government the authority to do those things, you can actually serve in the military with honor and pull a trigger and end someone's life if it's done in the context of, that's where then you get into lawful orders and unlawful orders and all that. But because God works through our government, not always in ways that we may understand or like or always agree with even, you can actually be at peace for serving. And I think that's always important for those who serve to understand that, you're not actually, putting on the uniform and being handed a gun to go kill an enemy isn't a sin. And there's a place to do it rightly and a place to do it wrongly. And I remember in chaplain school they said, your job as a chaplain is to if you're assigned to Marines, like I'm right now, and Marines are taught to kill, your job as a chaplain is to teach them not to like it too much.
Okay.
And so I always see, there's always a role, I think, for God to actually be brought into those situations, say, hey, what you're doing is just. Obviously, if it's an unjust war, that brings in a whole different discussion. But I think in the context, someone smarter than me once said, ISIS and terrorism is not good for my neighbor. Therefore, fighting against them and killing them is actually good for my neighbor, and therefore it's just for me to go and wage war. You guys, when you went over to Iraq, the same thing with those who went into Afghanistan, they weren't going to just, they weren't there to just get into a fight. They were there to actually protect people and to fight out terror and tyranny that was oppressing people. And so going in there to do that, you actually were there to love and serve your neighbor by taking care of the enemies that were oppressing them. And I think that's a righteous thing to do.
You wouldn't imagine how many times, I'm pretty sure you can, how many times before a unit would go outside that gate that they would stop and pray before they go outside that gate.
Yeah.
I would do that with my guys. And then I remember one time we were in haste and we were short on time. One of my guys said, hey, we got to pray before we go out.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't come over there.
Right.
But by the time 99.9% of us did, and when you're out there doing missions and things like that, you're constantly praying, that everybody would do their job correctly and that everybody get back safe, But a lot of people actually pray before they go outside that gate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's interesting, the types of prayers that get prayed. As a Lutheran, I don't think we'd have a problem with saying, dear Lord, if keep us safe. But if we should by chance be contacted by the enemy, make our bullets fly straight and true, and continue to keep us safe. And if and in a situation, like this one with that Al found himself in, Lord, if I have to save the lives of someone, give me the courage to do it. Like to allow me to be someone that can go into the fire.
That's when you say that, that's something that kicked in automatically with him, and I know his faith had something to do with that. Because initially, once he realized that his guys weren't in a safe area and that they were still in the back of that vehicle, his leadership kicked in, but then his faith did also, I believe.
Yeah.
Because he knew that if he ran over there, it was going to be bad for him.
Right.
He did it anyway.
Yeah.
God kept him alive until his last guy couldn't make it.
Right.
And then that's when he was like, okay, my mission is done. I'm done. I'm finished. So I know his faith had something to do with the actions that he did.
And I think it might be safe to say that in a situation like that, a person of faith can say, I'm good with God. I'm right with the Lord, and I'm okay with putting my life at risk. Obviously you're not going to have that conversation in that split second, but I would imagine, and you can tell me where your thoughts were, but every time you went outside that gate, you kind of had to be right with God in your mind, I'm guessing.
I did, Pastor. And like I said, I actually prayed with our guys before we went outside the gate, not knowing if I was going to come back or not.
Right.
So I was at peace, and I prayed that we did come back. Everybody came back safely, and our missions we did.
Yeah.
We went over there, and I brought everybody back that came over there with me. So he watched over us. But if something did happen, and I didn't make it back, I would have been fine with it.
Right.
Because he decided, okay, this is when I'm going to take you, and this is when your mission is over and done with. So I was at peace with it. I was, during every mission that I went out there with.
Well, and that's good because it allows you to focus on what you need to do at that time. To be actually in that moment to say, all right. So in chaplain school, we had a training where they did. You had to essentially, as a chaplain, you don't get to shoot a gun or carry a gun. They called us window lickers. We're Humvee window lickers. And so our job is to look out the windows looking for IEDs. And so we did an IED training. And I remember it feeling a little, there was a moment of a little bit of tension there because you're like, okay, so all I can do is look around. That at some point there's something out there. But to know that and that was not a real danger, but to have sort of that thought of, okay, so at some point, we're going to be contacted. But to go out there and know that you're going to be contacted and it's not a training environment, it's good to be able to focus on to be focused on that, so that you're not distracted. Because if you miss your zeros, your fives, your tens, your 20s, all that, then people's lives depend on that, and things can change in a minute. If this was a victim-based explosive device in this situation, you can't watch for that. All you know is there's a person
somebody's hiding behind a corner somewhere.
Behind a corner waiting for you to pass by, and they're probably, they see the first vehicle and they get the second vehicle, or it's you've got to I guess have your mind wrapped around to be at peace before you go forth. That's not. How do you train for that? How do you prepare for that? How do you?
Natural.
Some of it's got to be there, right? It's got to be something you're born with and informed by your faith. Training obviously kicks in, but there's no way to train someone to go be a hero, right?
Yeah.
And how do you measure, heroism or valor, or and you see it, and you see this.
The actions of a person dictates their heroism and their valor. It ain't nothing that you can say it's a check this block. Oh, he did this, he did that. No,
right.
It's his actions that actually did everything. That made him a hero.
And so in this situation, Silver Star, Medal of Honor, honorable mention, he's a hero for what he did, even without the award. But the award means something.
The award does mean something. His name means something now.
Yeah.
They actually know down there in Sanford, they named the Reserve Center after him, Alwyn Cashe Reserve Center.
That's awesome.
He has a post office named after him.
Wow.
Down there in Sanford, Florida. It takes an act of Congress
It
to
does.
get a post office named after you.
Yeah.
He has a mount site. A mount site is where you train in a city environment, right? A mount site named after him on Fort Benning, right?
Wow.
It's called Cashe Town,
Cashe Town.
right? Where soldiers go in there and they train to be in a mount site in a urban environment, and it's called Cashe Town.
I think he'd probably like that maybe more than having a post office.
Oh yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
a post office, really?
But that Cashe Town is named after him, and it's a site right there on Fort Benning where soldiers actually learn to react and fight in an urban environment.
That's awesome.
So it actually means something to get an award, but his name means more than that now.
It does.
He has a son that joined the infantry because of him.
Wow.
His son was stationed at Fort Benning and did training in Cashe Town.
Wow. That had to be, I wonder what that was like for him to walk onto that ground and know that this is named after my father.
Yeah.
Like, just the power of that.
That's deep.
I can't even imagine it, right? You know, to
I know.
set foot in there and say, this is named after my dad because my dad did some pretty heroic stuff.
Cashe, Cashe. You know, when we was in Korea, all the Koreans, they actually pronounce everything.
They do.
So they said when they Cashe, and he was like, "No, my name is Cashe." No, you have an E at the end. So the Koreans would actually call him Cashe. So when his son had went over there and saw, I'm pretty sure like when the drill sergeant saw that sign and looked at his son's name, they probably didn't. They put the two together. Hey, this is they Cashe. So
yeah, if a drill instructor doesn't know who his people are, I mean, I could just see him singling them out, saying, you maggot, you could only dream to be, as good as this man, and they said, that's my dad, oh.
yeah.
I imagine, the drill sergeant's got to have a little bit more knowledge than that.
So, and just think, like you said, the pressure that's on him now.
Yeah.
But he's a strong young man. He realizes that what his dad has done, don't want to fill those shoes.
No.
Would love to be as important and as strong a leader as his dad was, but don't want to go to that extent.
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure if he had to,
he would.
Some traits that he probably got from his dad. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. And so what happens then? What happens when someone gets the Medal of Honor?
Wow, the recognition, first of all.
I know it's presented by the president. I've seen, we've seen. I remember, I think it was President Obama that put it on. One of the guys I read was Dakota Meyer, Marine Corps sniper.
Marine Corps. Mm-hmm.
I actually bought some artwork of his for a confirmation gift for my godson, because he's become an artist to kind of deal with his PTSD and the demons and all that stuff that you end up facing. So he does artwork. And anyways, but I remember seeing the picture, President Obama putting that
the recognition that you receive, that I have been acknowledged for what I have done.
Yeah.
That's an individual recognition that, like we said before, they really don't want it.
Right.
or they don't want it. They deserve it.
Right.
They really deserve it. But they, a lot of those guys probably would want to have that little recognition with me, my wife, my family, and a couple guys I was with. We don't want this on the news.
Right.
But it's a big thing,
Usually the guys that get it are more of the mindset of, I can point to you to 10 other people that did more heroic stuff than I did. They deserve this more than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So it's the recognition. Then it's the benefits that his family will receive. His wife, his children will receive a stipend from the government.
Okay.
His children could attend any military school that they want to, West Point, the Citadel, the Air Force Academy in Colorado. As long as they meet the academic standards,
right,
they are shoe-in for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not just having an award. It actually, the things that actually comes with it. The Medal of Honor organization, they are known for paying off homes for individuals because they get a lot of money from individuals donating it.
Well, and you've got to figure too, in a case like this, you've got a husband and a father that's not there, to provide for a family, and so it's an opportunity for, the Medal of Honor Society, for the U.S. government to say, you know what, we acknowledge the sacrifice your loved one made, and we want to make sure that his sacrifice doesn't continue to bring you sorrow or struggle, right? I mean, I guess in that case.
And not to put a race on it.
No, I think it's good to. I think it's important to make the distinction I know you're about to make here. I think it's big.
Al would be the first African American to receive the Medal of Honor for Iraqi freedom in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
The first.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. It is. But we don't want to make it as a race issue.
Right.
But it looks, like I said, I'm pretty sure that a lot of Medal of Honor winners can point to other guys and say, this guy did a lot more than I did. And it's quite obvious what Al has done shows that he deserves the Medal of Honor.
Absolutely. When you read some of the things that people have done that have been awarded the Medal of Honor, his is reflective of everybody. I mean, you've got guys on the list, and it's a small fraternity of people that are on that list.
Less than 3,500.
And even smaller of ones that are still alive or that received it while they were alive. But I mean, it's things like jumping on a grenade. It's things like going into a burning vehicle to drag people out. Everything he did falls in line with other Medal of Honor recipients, I think. And I was doing the reading because you scratch your head and you wonder, okay, so why hasn't he? And I understand originally there was a 5-year window that it had to be within 5 years that you got awarded, but they've changed that law. Actually, they changed it, I think, with Al in mind here.
Just for this, for Iraq and Afghanistan situation, they actually changed the 5-year window just for this. And it's kind of a good thing that the Congress has changed that rule. It seemed like they actually changed it just specifically for him.
Well, you've got a few big name people behind it, like Dan Crenshaw from Texas, the one-eyed seal. I read his book, and it's pretty excellent. He talks about fortitude being something that we need.
Secretary of Defense is behind this now.
Secretary of Defense is behind it. Was it our Congresswoman, Senator here in Florida? What was her? She's on board with it as well. What was that? Stephanie Murphy. I think she's here in Florida.
Another big guy that's behind it, that's in the sports world, Alejandro Villanueva.
Yes. I think I may have sent it to Cynthia, but she may have already seen it. But he put his name on the back of his helmet, and got in trouble for it because they were all supposed to have the names of individuals that had been killed by police officers, and he put that one on there. Is he the same guy that came out too to stand for the national anthem?
That's him.
Okay.
Villanueva, he was, and actually he's a former soldier.
That's
he was
right.
a ranger, and he actually graduated from West Point.
Wow.
So once he graduated from West Point, he had to do his time in the military. He did 4 years as a ranger, so he knows what a soldier's actually gone through and been through. And then once he realized and heard about Al, is that he said he wanted to recognize Al, and he wrote Al's name on the back of his helmet. And that is big. That is big.
Yeah, that's now on a national stage then.
Yeah.
And people notice, hey, why is his different?
And he actually added like a Scotch tape with Al's name written in it. Everybody else was nice and stenciled. His was
It was like a piece of athletic tape and a name written there. And,
And if that's not somebody who recognizes that this guy needs to be acknowledged for something bigger than what he is, what he has now.
I mean, the Silver Star is no slouch, but what he did is worthy of the Medal of Honor. And I don't think there's anyone, everything I read, there's not a single person that disagrees with that at this point.
And when he first got the Silver Star, it was actually done in haste. They wanted to get something to him before he passed away.
Okay. So was he able to receive that then before?
Yeah, he actually received it. He actually received the Silver Star before he passed away.
Passed away.
So they did it in haste, trying to hurry up and make sure it happened.
Yeah.
And his battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brito, at the time, he's a 2-star general now.
Oh, wow.
He is still pushing this. He is still pushing this. He's one of the biggest pushers for this. So
when I looked at the process, I actually printed it out because I thought it was so like what's all connected with the Medal of Honor, and there's a whole like flow chart of how you get the Medal of Honor because. And one of the things it says it needs is incontestable proof of the performance of the meritorious conduct. And so you have to have interviews, you've got to have statements that are collaborating, you've got to interview the men. And so obviously that wasn't going to be able to happen in the time frame between, the 17th of October and then he passed away the 8th of November. So we're looking at coming up on the 15th anniversary now of his passing, which would have been great if they could have had their act together and been able to do that for, the anniversary. But
after everything is done and said, once they started to push the Medal of Honor, they actually interviewed some of the medics and when he was medevaced to Balad in Afghanistan, Iraq. And the medics that were treating him, after he got medevac, he was still pushing this off. No, take care of my guys first. He was actually in worse condition than the medics that they had to fight him to make sure that he was getting treatment.
So here these fighting off the old medics to say, hey, you know what, I gotta, I'm okay. Okay. Take care of my guys.
But back to him being the first African American receiving it for actions during Iraq and Afghanistan. There's approximately about 3,500 Medal of Honors recipients.
Total from all the conflicts.
All the conflicts going all the way back to Civil War.
Okay.
All right, to now. Number-wise, World War I, one African American received the Medal of Honor. World War II, at the time, 0 African Americans.
I looked it up because I thought Dory Miller had. Nope, Silver Star.
Korean War, 2 African Americans.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Dory was Navy Cross, but still,
Vietnam, 20 African Americans received the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
But 1997, President Clinton, he acknowledged 7 individuals, African Americans from World War II, and made them recipients of the Medal of Honor. And out of those 7, one of them were still alive. So,
wow.
So the actual number is close to 3,500 And out of those individuals, only 88 out of 3,500, 88 African Americans.
Wow.
One African American received it twice. So.
Really?
Yes.
You don't want that one twice.
But that still makes it less than 3%
Yeah.
of African Americans that have received the Medal of Honor.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure we have some real big heroes out there.
I'm pretty sure
that
of
need
that.
to be recognized.
Yeah. Well, and you and I, you've served long enough, and I've served a little bit shorter enough to know, but there's a lot of African Americans that serve in the military. I mean, it's
a way of life for us. It makes a better life for us.
It is.
I joined the Army just so I could have a better life.
Yeah.
So it's a way to make us a better individual, and we want to prove ourselves out there just like other individuals do.
Absolutely.
And if we're put in that situation like Al, he proved himself to be a Medal of Honor recipient.
Yeah. No doubt.
There's a lot of politics to do with it. Yeah, politics, but they actually trying to they fix the political side of it, as
Right.
in making this rule especially for him. Years ago, I wrote President Obama about this situation.
Did you?
I did. And I specifically stated that how nice it would be for an African American president to give an African American the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
I didn't hear nothing back from the guy.
Really?
It's something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
We are heroes also.
Absolutely.
We put our life on the line, and it's just not, as in with Al being a soldier, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, they're heroes also. There's African American heroes out there that need to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes that the race can be a deterrent from receiving that acknowledgement that they gratefully deserve.
Yeah.
So,
sort of a prejudgment right off the bat, sort of
yeah. Well, no, he wouldn't do nothing like that. He can't. But it's quite obvious. There's a lot of statements from individuals
Right.
that Al did do this.
he did this, and there's proof of it. Yeah.
And
So what does that do then for? Obviously, there's a fine difference there between when it comes to Medal of Honor. There's a big difference. If there's 3,500 and 3% have gone to African Americans, how does this affect then the African American community?
makes us stand up a little taller.
Yeah.
We're getting acknowledged for our actions. He's getting acknowledged for our actions. Al is African American. He's actually one of us. He done this, that proving that we can do these actions also. That we need to be acknowledged for these actions. We want to save our people. We want to make sure everybody come home safely. Mm-hmm. And if we do that and we lose our life and at doing that, and we deserve to be acknowledged, let's make it happen. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Do
you think? So, if you go into the African American community, what are the typical heroes, role models, and things for the kids these days?
Is mom and dad.
Okay.
Mom and dad is mom. A lot of African American households it is ran by the mom,
right?
The matriarch.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our first heroes.
Okay.
Some communities still look at police officers as heroes.
Okay.
I still do. I still instill that into my sons and my grandson that police are still good guys.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, you can educate young guys on, look at what this guy just did, so they can look at Al. They be like, oh man, this dude is a hero now.
Yeah.
And this is something that they can actually read and look at and have pictures of, and it's not fiction.
Right.
This is real.
This is a real human being that had he grew up in Florida, Sanford, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so that's why. I'm assuming that's why they named the post office there
Mm-hmm.
after him. And he came from the community he came from, and look at what he did.
Yes.
And what he did is valuable because he sacrificed self for others. And I actually think it's useful for everyone to have people like that as heroes rather than the famous people that are me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or looking at a NBA player,
an NBA player,
NFL.
yeah. Who-
That's my hero. No,
yeah,
he's
right, like, you know,
he can play basketball.
he played
good.
basketball well, but I tell you what, he just pulled a hamstring and he's out for a couple of days. Al was on fire and saved 6 people's lives. You know, like
Yeah.
that's a hero, right? Like, what was a football player that had turf toe and that ended his season? He's like, he's got a toe injury. Like, you know, I'm guessing everyone that's had to wear boots and a sack and walked in the desert has had some foot injuries.
You know, last week I was watching the news, and a police officer, a woman had a car accident. Her car was on fire. A police officer went over there, drugged the woman out of the car, and you know, they got the paramedics and everything over there.
Mm-hmm.
He told no one. The police officer, you know, he made a report that it was a car accident and all this stuff. He
Right.
didn't tell anybody that he pulled this woman from a burning car until they saw his body
Body
cam
cam.
footage.
Yeah,
And they said, "You pulled her out of the car? Why didn't you tell us?"
just doing my
I
job.
was doing my job.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Wow. Yeah.
I was doing my job. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he did not want recognition. He actually, it was like 2 weeks later when they found out that he really did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
It is. It's interesting when people do selfless acts like that and then get caught and recognized for it. They really,
play it down.
yeah, they're sheepish about it. You know, I'm just doing my job. Just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you get that in all sorts of careers. You know, whether it's military, police, you know, pastoral ministry. There's very, you know, Walmart manager. I mean, all those different things. There's places
Mm-hmm.
where you know, someone recognizes something you did, and you know, the humility comes into play. And,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, I'm just doing my job. That's what I'm here to do. You know,
Oh,
no
yeah.
thanks necessary, that sort of thing. But when you honor someone for their heroism, the family gets something to say. Hey, we were already proud of him, but now other people can share in the pride that we have for our loved one. You
I
know,
wanna show the
for
world-
Al's family here.
Show the world what my dad, brother, uncle, son did.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, to be able to say, hey, that guy, you know, hey, that building there is named after my dad. You know, when I was in officer school, all the buildings at Newport Naval Station are named after heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of our officer training, they took us to the placard where it had their citation. And we had to read before we could enter any of those buildings the citation, so that we knew, you know, what's the significance. Now we're walking into Michael Murphy Aquatic Training Center, you know, where they try and drown you, and this is the significance. We stood out there in, you know, negative 20 degree. Well, it was maybe not negative 20, but it was windy and it was cold. There was like 6 feet of snow on the ground, and we stood there freezing, reading that because that was important to know.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the kinds of heroes too that our kids need to know.
oh yeah, oh,
You know,
yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day. There's a great Netflix thing on. I wanted to show the kids, but I watched an episode. I'm like, yeah, this isn't for kids, but it's the Michael Jordan. Netflix has it's called The Last Dance, and it's like Michael Jordan, and I'm like, I want to introduce my kids to that, and you know, the episode's not for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about it, and, you know, what are better heroes to introduce our kids to than someone that could play a sport well, you know, someone that sacrificed for other people. And so if we can find, you know, if our communities can be given humble heroes that have, you know, that do things of valor, that raises up our kids to actually pursue better things.
To be a better individual.
Yeah.
And that's all we want is people to just be better individuals to make the world a better place.
Right. I talked to a young
start
person
off with our kids.
Yeah, we start with the kids, and if we don't get our kids going in the right direction,
they're gonna be bad adults.
they're gonna be bad adults. And then we're gonna be older adults that have to be cared by these bad adults, and they're not gonna be treating us as good. You know, the other day I was talking to a young person, and they said their goal in life that they want to become a YouTube influencer when they grow up. And I said, what do you have to offer that would influence? Like, there's nothing you bring to the table right now that would influence me to do anything. And he said, well, I can play video games really well. Like, well, who cares? Like, you can mash a button down pretty good. Like, I said, if you want to really influence people and make a difference, you serve other people first. You start with service and humility, and you don't set out to influence other people. You know, when you're a leader, you don't set out to, I guess there's a role of influencing and a goal to influence positively people. But your goal as a leader isn't always to gain followers. Followers are drawn to leaders, and then you have the opportunity to teach and mold and shape. Sometimes just by the way you live your life, you know, and you see that as a dad and is it? You're not grandpa. You're Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I know you I know you got a grandson, but I know you, for a while there you were going by
Payne.
Payne. There we go. Yeah. So you know there's a role that you can play to positively influence the next generation and then the next generation. You know there's a role then that gets played. I think you get to influence your kids, but you're just their dad. But when you have the chance to be grandpa, that's a whole different influence. And I'm guessing that and I don't know what you've gotten to share with your grandson about Al. Some of it's kind of probably a little heavy for him to understand as a 5-year-old. But when that day comes, that's going to be something you can point to and say this is a hero. And maybe that's an opportunity too where your son will be able to say, hey, let me tell you about stuff that some stuff that Grandpa did, because it's you can't go around talking about what you did.
Yeah, that's you don't want to
brag. But other
brag.
people can say, you yourself were you were a man that saved lives of other people. You put your life on the line. You took risks, and whether they were done out of just stupidity of oh my gosh, that's just what I did. You still did it, and so you got to save lives of soldiers as well. And
like my grandson, I told him that I said, hey, I used to be in the Army, and he was what and when he leave, I kind of salute him all the time, and he don't know how to do it yet. He
wrist probably bent, like Canadian stuff or whatever.
And I show him pictures of me in the uniform and things like that. So eventually, once he realized what that is, what that actually means, and he'll, I have a couple citations that's kind of high, and he'll realize, oh my goodness,
When you polish off that metal and show him.
Yeah, he see my uniform and he'll be like, man, you got a lot of stuff up there,
Yeah, a little bit of chest candy.
And he asks me what that means, and
you can actually tell him.
And then he do his research, and he'd be like, man, they just don't give that kind of stuff out to people.
That's right. Yeah, that's not the National Defense ribbon right there. That's not the Firewatch McDonald's ribbon. That's something legitimate that you earned. And I'm thinking of the Cashe family, and 15 years now that that since Al passed away, the memories they have, but then also kind of this knowing that what he did is so heroic and worthy of such an award, and then to wait. The joy that is going to come and the sense of relief. I'm guessing they're going to feel that just sense of wow, it finally
happened.
And I mean, because it's because he deserves it, and it's because it's not because of any of the benefits that come with being a Medal of Honor winner, but it's the acknowledgement that our loved one is dead, but he died saving others, and he's honored for what he did, and they can, like you said, walk a little taller there. They have that sense of pride. The community, I mean, that's going to be huge for the community he grew up in, to be able to say, hey, I'm guessing that when you drive into Sanford, there's the little sign that says, the Silver Star with his name on it.
Yeah.
But to then go to, Medal of Honor, to have that on a sign as you enter that town, that's a sense of pride for that whole family.
Yeah.
Grandkids and great grandkids. When the generation that knew Al is old and gray or gone, the next that generation of great grandkids and say, that was my great grandpa, and he won the Medal of Honor, and we're proud of him for saving other people's lives, and the people that he saved those lives of can tell their families, I'm alive because of him. I mean,
that degree of knowledge of people that he's going to affect is just going to be huge.
The ripple is it's huge.
When we went down there for them to recognize and changing the name of the Reserve Center, I was sitting there talking to a sister, and I said, it's going to be a shame that they're going to have to take this nice plaque off the wall, it says Silver Star recipient, and say, got to change it to Medal of Honor recipient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Said,
What a shame they're going to have to rip that off.
And we said that jokingly, but that's going to be a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
Wow. And for me to sit down and know this guy personally.
Right.
To
call him friend and brother and that's no small thing.
And it's, I actually look at it as how many people have met a president.
Yeah.
It's only been 45 of them.
Right.
So to meet a president is something really big, because that's not something that the average person does.
No.
The average I have never met a Medal of Honor winner.
No.
Because like we said before, that's something that you don't want.
Right.
Or when you do, and if you do meet that person or know that person, wow.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Well, you notice that. So when you go to like a national cemetery and you look at the stones, and you may see KIA, you may see different things, Silver Star, but then you don't see Medal of Honor very often.
No.
And when you do, you're like, oh
my goodness,
I want to take notice of that. Let me write that guy's name down and figure out what.
Brush off his tombstone. Make sure it's nice and clean.
And it doesn't matter if you're private or an admiral. If you get the Medal of Honor and you're alive, everybody salutes you.
Everyone.
It's an honor that few people have. 3,500, like you said. Most of them aren't alive, and what a distinction. And it's not given out willy nilly. Right? To earn that is to really. I did some research too. There's only been one woman that's earned it. I didn't get to finish reading what she had done, but she was Civil War doctor, surgeon type. She was an abolitionist, although I was a little perturbed because she was also a prohibitionist, which means she was one of those ones fighting to get alcohol off the streets. But she received it, then it was rescinded, and then she was given it back. And I kind of wanted to read up a little bit about that process, because how do you then what do? You have someone come in and say, I saw her drinking alcohol, she doesn't deserve this, or I don't know, but to be given that, I mean, especially after 15 years for Al here, they've done the research, they know what he did, they've got all the collaborating evidence, they've got and to be able to say to the family, it's time for us to fix a wrong, and now a community has a hero to look up to, someone to point to and say, hey, that our post office was named after a man who did this. He saved the lives of others, and that's someone I want you to grow up to be like. You know, like from a parent to a child perspective. I mean, I want my kids to be the kind of kids that would sacrifice for another person. You know, I don't want to see them die, but I want them to be the kind of people that are not going to be selfish or self-centered, but to actually put the needs and cares of others ahead of their own. And to be able to point to someone like Sgt.1st Class Cashe and say, you know, here's someone that put the lives of others ahead of himself.
One thing the military has done a big thing about in improving that is that living heroes now. Because like we say, majority of them get this after they have passed away. So they have starting to acknowledge that these guys are doing these things that's still living. So let's show them that we still have real heroes out there,
Right.
you know, that's still breathing, that's receiving this award.
Yeah.
Because the majority of them was receiving it after the fact. So they have done a real big initiative and push on making that happen.
Yeah.
So we got the living ones, but the ones that, let's make a couple of them African American or Asian or Hispanic or Latin, Latinos. They are some good great soldiers out there too. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, I think there's a goal. I think, you know, and I don't want it to be cliche, but to think back of you know, famous speeches. You know, let it be the content of a person's character. You know, right? To quote Martin Luther King Jr. Right? To actually let that be what determines the value of a person.
yeah, let's look at this narrative and let's read this stuff. Oh my gosh, yes, he's a Medal of Honor recipient. And turn the page over. Oh, he's African American.
Yeah. Yeah. To let that be sort of the last thing that people discover about you. You know, you know, wow, look at all the stuff this guy's done, and then you flip the page and see the picture. And you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that.
We voted on this already, and now flip it over.
Yeah, right. So I
It
do.
could be a woman too. We voted on this. Oh, she's
You know,
a
they
woman.
did that movie a whole bunch of years ago. I didn't see it, but it was with
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington and
Courage of Fire, I believe.
Courage Under Fire. Yes.
Courage Under Fire.
And it was a female and
Pilot. Helicopter pilot.
Yep. I thought it was based on sort of true events. I don't know, but she didn't get the Medal of Honor.
Well, in the movie she did.
In the movie, she did.
Her daughter did. Her daughter did because she passed away.
That's right. But in real life, it's still just that one woman.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that have done some heroic and courageous things, of you know, male or female, and every race. I mean, when you look, actually, there. I went to Wikipedia, you know, Medal of Honor, was looking at it, and you know, like you said, there's not a whole lot of non-white folks in the list there, and you know, obviously, you know, there's you know, Italians and Germans and, you know, all these, you know, different nationalities or you know, heritages, but you know, it didn't, you know, and there's a lot of heroism that take place in the service of the country and service of others, and I really do. I'm a firm believer in finding role models for kids, role models for myself too, you know, that have done things of a self-sacrificial nature. So, you know, if this soldier or this sailor or this, you know, Marine has written a book and they've done, you know, they've put their life on the line and sacrificed for others, you know, that's a book I want to read. You know, I want to read about, you know, if you know, Alwyn had lived and written a book, I would have bought that book and read it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would have given it to you and said, "Can you take this down and have him sign it?" Next time you see it, you know, like, it would have been that kind of thing, because you know, his story needs to be told, and what he did. Even though I'm guessing this chapter in his life is that day, a couple hours of time, right? And then his couple weeks of recovery, and then his passing. Small chapter in his 35 years of life, but everything up to that shaped him for that moment.
Oh yeah.
And to know what it was that, what it was that growing up and joining the military and all these steps along the way until he was, Alwyn Cashe Medal of Honor recipient, and the actions that led to that. I mean, those are the things you want to know and emulate and be able to say, because I'm guessing he probably had bumps and bruises along the way in his life, and he had some successes and failures in his life, and yet his defining moment, he rose to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that is going to define everything that he's ever done is going to be he saved the lives of those people. Still
smell like roses.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he's up in heaven too.
Right. He was at peace.
And all the
at
things
peace with God,
mm-hmm.
and that role of faith. I mean, I know I told you I wanted to spend a little time talking about role of faith in combat, but I think we're also going on a little bit of time for our video here, so I don't know. I can't see how far. I've been talking to you for a while because this is really just exciting and fascinating.
It is
things, and I want to help get his story out. It sounds like originally when I reached out to you was the thought of, hey, I want to help with, making awareness so that maybe the Medal of Honor can happen, but it does seem as though the Medal of Honor will be happening at some point.
Yeah.
But I do think people need to know this story.
And when it happens, Pastor, I'm going to have a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Yeah, because, this means something to you.
Not to take away from all the Medal of Honor recipients, because they have done something and people said that, hey, let's give them this award.
Mm-hmm.
Al has done more than some of the Medal of Honor recipients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if he has done more than these other guys, what is our problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get rid of this red tape and let's hurry up and make this happen.
Yeah.
Because it's making us look bad that this guy has done more than some of these guys.
Oh, sure. To be able to say, well, this guy got it for just doing that, right?
He just saved one life.
Yeah.
He saved one guy from burning.
Yeah.
Al saved 3. Mm-hmm. He pulled 3 guys out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He went back in there 3 times to while on fire. And that's just a testament to his strength too, because I've been burned before, never on 72% of my body, but it hurts, and that's all you can kind of focus on.
He didn't focus on that.
No,
just think, because if he did, he wouldn't have went back.
He wouldn't have
the second time.
That first time kind of that sucked a bit. I'm gonna. I think they were all probably dead. I'll just stay out
here.
That
adrenaline and
he just went.
I gotta get my guys out of there.
Yeah.
I don't care,
because you're beyond blistering at that point.
Oh God, his nerves has been is
They're
just
raw.
Yeah. So
and the amount of pain afterwards that he had to be enduring, and yet from what I've read, it sounds like he didn't let on to any of the pain he was really feeling. But when you've got 72% of your body covered with burns,
second, third degree burns,
second and third, that's down to the bone in places.
It's not healable.
No. There's no grafting you can do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Was his wife and family able to be there for him when he died?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because that's probably the kind of closure. Well, that was the closure they needed at that point too. I think once this has been fixed and he has the Medal of Honor, the sigh of relief that they'll breathe.
It's for something.
It'll be closure. It'll almost be finally as though now we can stop mourning the same way. You never get over something like that. There'll be things that trigger memories and all, but for 15 years to be fighting kind of the battle to to say, he deserves this. You're living through his death and those final days, the nightmares over and over again. They'll be able to sleep better at night when this is taken care of. And, and it'll be what a great occasion that'll be. To pack up the family, go up there to the White House, and whoever's living there at the time gets to put that medal on and honor him.
I would believe, well, when it happens, like I said, he has a sister that has been pushing this from day one. Her or his son. His son is Andrew Cashe. His son is a soldier now. Yeah. So putting that around his neck for his dad, or his sister. Yeah. Al was still married at the time, so but his sister or somebody, But to me, his son who joined the infantry just because his dad. Yeah.
There's gonna be tears.
Oh,
I don't care how tough a soldier you are. There's gonna be tears on that.
Oh goodness.
And I hope there's a way to watch that.
Oh yeah. Whenever the Medal of Honor is given to an individual, majority of times it's
on one of the news stations.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I'll be watching that one.
Oh.
That one. I mean, because of my connection to you, I feel that I feel a connection, from that first time you told the story. So, poor Cynthia. Every time something pops up on my Facebook news feed about Al, I'm forwarding it like, "Hey, can you show this to LaMarr?" Because I know he's not on Facebook, and because I see that and right away, every time it pops up. And I saw someone from our church a couple years ago that shared a story, and I said, "Hey, LaMarr knows those. LaMarr knows the story. He knows Al." I always started in first class Cashe. I think said he knows him.
That's Al.
And but it's kind of neat when I see other people that have shared that story on Facebook, and like, the word's out there. There's other people. It's I don't know. It's just I didn't have anything to do with it, but seeing other people do that, I'm like, yes, this has to happen. This is good, and I do. I think it'll be good for our community to be able to look and see a hero, and
we need more of them.
An African American hero who laid down his life for other people, and is actually being recognized for it. Because, like you said, there's other African American men and women that have laid down their life for others that haven't been recognized, and I think it'll be a good thing to recognize this one, and maybe it's a step in the right direction to honoring more, because they're still fighting out there in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yes,
and people are still dying, and people are still suffering and having to say goodbye to loved ones, or people are being injured, and people are still being heroes out there, and in a world that is so confused of what is good, proper, and good, and to be emulated and virtuous, putting forth people who serve and sacrifice for others, I think that's a good place for us to start.
Oh yeah.
To say, hey, you want to see what real heroism looks like? Do you want to see what it really looks like to be important? Look at these people who laid down their life, and we read in Scripture, right? No greater love is this than a man lays down his life for his friends, and Jesus says, the first among you shall be last, and the last shall be first. The idea of servant and servant leadership flows throughout Scripture and our Christian faith, and to be able to point to people that have exemplified that. There's a servant that put other people ahead of himself, and our society has said, well done, and so I'll look forward to that day.
Oh yes, oh yes.
We could probably keep talking, but what do you think? I should have probably written up something really intelligent and witty to kind of close our time together. But any wise words you want to leave us with as we kind of close? This is perhaps going to be the first episode of, we're calling these Ringside Bouts. And so they're one-on-one conversations about things that matter. And I told the guys ringside that I wanted ours to be kind of the first one because I think this matters. Hopefully we beat the other guys to get our story out before they do. 'Cause like I said, the one guy, he wasn't interviewing a potential Medal of Honor recipient. So I really felt that, this is a big deal. And
and like your name, the Ringside Bout, is it's about things that's actually happening in the world. We can kind of connect it with things as in, they're changing things, trying to recognize African Americans now. Black Lives Matter, and this systemic racism that's out there, and trying to change it and fix things. So, and this is one of the things that can actually, hey, this is a big fix.
Yeah.
This is something that can right some wrongs that have been happening in the past. So that this is big for the Ringside Bout.
Yeah.
So
it is. I mean, because it's been a fight.
What's going on right now is actually a fight that's going on. The one fight with Congress, and that has been fixed. So let's hurry up and fix the narratives of how we're going to write this and just make it happen. So it's stuff that's actually happening to us right now that they can actually fix. So
things that are it's the world we're living in right now, and there's things that matter, and conversations that kind of need to be had, and wrongs that to be righted, and finding the right people to look to say there's someone to, there's someday going to be someone that says, when I grow up, I want to be like him.
Wow, yeah.
And it's one thing for your own kids to say that, and
your kids
Al's son going off to walk in your footsteps to serve and be infantry just like Dad, but to have someone that didn't know him to say, I want to be a hero like him.
Yeah.
To be able to point to him and not see, get to a place in our world where we don't see the color of the person and just say, there's a hero. I don't care anything else about him, but he's a hero because of what he did. And, when we get to a place in our world where we can actually do that, that'd be a great thing.
It would.
And be able to say, I don't need to know anything else, but that guy's a hero, and I want to grow up to be like him.
Yeah, just think you read a narrative and it doesn't have a race or a gender.
No, there's none of that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, all it has is a name, where he served and what he did, and
then, like I said, and then the last thing you do is see a picture after you done read all that. You be like, wow,
yeah,
Yep.
And you think, all right, so there he is, there he is, and.
And it still just makes me laugh when I see pictures of him,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because because the guy, and then you're like, him, we gave him such a hard time when he switched over to infantry. I'm guessing there was a fair amount of welcome to the team type stuff. We don't have to talk about those sorts of things because it's a new military. You're not allowed to welcome people to the team in the same way as you used to.
No more of that.
None of that takes place. Right? The words, the closing words, I think, of this, his narrative, and in the citation itself, his actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of military heroism and reflect distinct credit upon himself. This man showed us what it means to be brave, and it's a credit to him, and a credit to his family, and many like him who make sacrifices every day, who have made ultimate sacrifices for others. it's that selflessness that is truly heroic, and we thank God that men like this existed, that men like this lived, and we mourn them when they're gone, but thank God they lived and left a legacy to emulate, something to follow, a person to point to with flesh and blood to say,
Oh, yeah.
there's a hero, and there's someone who you can be like, and may we continue to find people like this
Yes.
to say, you know what, that's who I would like to raise my kids to be like. That's who I want you to be like. So we thank God today for Sgt.1st Class Alwyn Crendall Cashe, a true hero and beloved friend, and hopefully soon to be Medal of Honor recipient, because it is an honor well deserved, and it'll give a community and a nation something to be proud of.
Yes.
And with that, I think we can call it a day. So, LaMarr, thank you for taking the time to be on this episode of Ringside Bouts.
My honor.
And,
It's my honor.
I will look forward to talking with you more about this, because I know this is a story that's still happening. And so thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for watching and being a part of learning about this great man, Alwyn Crendall Cashe. What a great name.